Yes, indeed. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody out there? Wake up with me. It's your man, Tresvon Pratt, with AIM, always improving the mind. And we're going to start off this wonderful week, this wonderful morning with a mindset tip, okay? We always going to get our minds right before we go out into the world. And this week, celebrating and honoring Dr. Martin Luther King, uh, we got our slogan, right? You can't have community without communication. You can't have community without communication. Exactly what does that mean? It means that we can't come together if we can't even talk to each other. We can't trust one another. We can't build with one another. So, what are we actually doing? Are we just going to stay in fear and isolate? That'll break us down as a community. And it already has been. It's over independence and all of that. So, what we're going to do, what we're going to do this week is we're talking about communication. Every live this week will be towards communication. And there's so much within that category that we honestly can do the rest of the lives for this month with about communication, right? And you can join me live. If you're here, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for tapping in. But if you want to join live, man, the link is in the description and it's also at the bottom. Come join this conversation. Communicate with me. Let's converse. Communicate with me. So we put the polls out um and asked the question across all of our social medias, right? Catch us on all of the social media platforms. We put a poll out and asked, what is the biggest issue with communication? What do you see as the biggest issue with communication? And the top two were nonverbal communication and listening, right? And it's crazy. All right, what you'll learn within this week is that all of the facets of communication all cooperate. You got to have all of these working in order for it to work. And that might be the reason why it's such a fickle issue in this day and age, right? So, uh, the biggest issue, the most common issue is listening, right? But everybody that feels as though listening is the biggest issue, what I said yesterday, everybody yearns to be heard, listened to, understood, right? You ever talk to somebody and it's like, not even listening. You don't feel me. You understand? That's the reason why we got little caps on the end of our sentences. You think about our everyday slang, right? You be like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You're asking if you know what I'm saying. You feel me? Do you feel me? Hmm? Right? You understand? Those phrases are there for a reason, you know. We automatically assume that somebody else is not paying attention. Somebody's not listening, right? So listening is a much larger issue in communication than anything. But here's the thing, because I also briefly discussed this. Here's the thing. If you want more people to listen to you, you yourself have to be a better listener. If you want the listening to improve, you have to improve your listening skills. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's improve the listening skills. Are you listening? First thing I'm going to say, right? There's a difference between hearing and listening. You can hear somebody talk, you can hear what they say, but are you listening? To listen means that you're paying attention, you are focused, you are absorbing this, right? Absorbing it. Not, it don't have to be in depth, but you're absorbing it, like actually paying attention. You can hear somebody talk and they could be talking directly to you, and you hear the noise, right? You hear the voice, you hear it going on, but you ain't paying no attention. That's the difference between hearing and listening. You hear a sound in the woods versus you listening for a sound in the woods, right? When you're intentionally listening for something, you're not really surprised when you get it, when you hear it, right? You're listening for the malfunction. You're listening for the skip. You're listening. Listening is intentional. First and foremost, listening is intentional, right? Oh, we're gonna be great. We're gonna be great by the end of this live, right? We're gonna be great. Hey, look, gotta get my shine on. 2 for 20 Tuesday. Let me put the link in the description. You go to shinecareproducts.com, and that's on. Go to shinecareproducts.com. Boom. Go to shinecareproducts.com. Tell them we sent you. Use the code FMF20. Get you 20% off your entire order. Or you can use today's discount is 2 for 20. You use the code 2 for 20. Those the numbers 2FOR20. Use that code 2 for 20 and get you 2 for 20. I got me too, and I'm about to get my shine on. Yes, Lord. Now, the biggest issue is listening. Listening, we just learned, is intentional. You have to be intentional about hearing, right? And then, how do you show you're listening? It's nonverbal. See what I said? These things go hand in hand. How do you show someone is listening? How do you know someone is listening to you? What's happening? They face you. They face you. They're making eye contact with you, right? If you are talking and y'all are looking eye to eye, hmm? If we are looking eye to eye and we can speak to one another, if I'm speaking and I got your attention, I got your full attention, I could feel that you're listening, and I appreciate it. And usually that makes the speaker want to keep speaking, right? It's nonverbal. Face the speaker and have eye contact. Make that eye contact. The eyes are the windows of the soul, right? That's a small and simple thing that you could do. The next thing that you could do is pay attention to their nonverbal cues. What are they doing, right? What are they saying without using words? Are their hands in their pockets? Are they mumbling? Are they, looking down while they're talking? This may affect them. Whatever they're speaking on may carry more weight than you notice, right? Listen to the nonverbal cues, which I think, since that was the second largest issue, I think we should tap on that tomorrow. We're going to tap on that tomorrow, more of the nonverbal cues. What are some nonverbal communications? I know most of us want to be nonverbal. Like, why don't everybody just understand me? Why do I have to say stuff? Shine good from face to foot. Why do I have to say stuff? Why do I have to talk? Why do I have to repeat myself? Why do I have to keep saying the same thing over and over again? Can't have community without communication. It's mindset. Improve your mindset. You know, uh, action gets results, and think positively. And why do I have to keep saying the same things? Well, that's because everybody's not perceptive of the nonverbal, right? So when you become perceptive of the nonverbal, you could associate that with what's actually verbally being said. So listen up and pay attention. Pay attention to the nonverbal cues, the facial expressions, right? The gestures. I know some people talk with their hands. I do it a little bit uh, to emphasize a point. It's like punctuation. It's communication, man, and communication is awesome. Uh, are they smiling? Like just pay attention, man. Pay attention. Um, the next thing that you could do is please don't try to interrupt this person. Anybody, and I know that this is in different areas, like say for instance, New York, in more crowded areas, right? More populated, more dense areas, you have more people are talking, and they're used to conversation uh being cut off. Like they're used to cutting off each other or finishing each other's sentences and stuff like that. But those are few and far beyond certain places. And even then, that's more so like in a group setting that happens. People want to be heard, feel listened to. Try not to interrupt this person, right? Try not to just interject, right? Try not to assume that you know better, even if you do. Even if you have a solution to the problem that they may be speaking on, it's not always a problem within the conversation that needs to be solved. Hello, talking to myself, right? But try not to interrupt this person. It becomes frustrating when you trying to get your sentence out and somebody else continues like assuming what you're saying. They try to finish your sentence. People try to force the connection. They try to force the bond. Like we think alike, but we don't. You know, what I think and what I'm saying could be profound. You could learn something from it. I learned from people explaining to me their problems more often than I've learned from people explaining to me their successes, you know, like I'm all good. That didn't teach me nothing if I wanted to learn. And just being open to learn and being willful to listen. Hello. I've learned a lot just by listening. Like what somebody else is going through. I've made connections of what I've been dealing with based on what somebody else was able to say what they was dealing with, right? It's not a trauma bond or anything. It's just recognition, you know. But how did that happen? I didn't interrupt the people. Whoever was speaking, whatever they were speaking on, good or bad, whatever, uh, I just didn't interrupt them. I let them speak. And this is one of the reasons why people are so comfortable with talking to me or communicating with me. They would like to have a conversation with me because since I'm not interrupting them, I'm not making them feel less important. I'm actually making them feel more important by like by not interrupting, right? Making eye contact. I'm facing the person. I'm not interrupting them, and I'm paying attention to their nonverbal cues. All right, it's a combination. The next thing, right? And the most important thing, if you ask me, listen without judgment, without judgment or assumption. You jump into conclusion. You're trying to finish this other person's sentence because you think that you know what they're about to say. That means that you're not listening. You're thinking what you think they are going to say, you're not in the conversation no more. You're having a conversation with yourself. This is how we talk to ourselves. It's by thought. It's by thinking. When you don't speak out loud, but you're still having dialogue, that's called thinking, and that's called self-talk. It's even better when you can speak out loud. You thinking out loud to yourself, right? But that's called thinking. And when you're actively thinking, then you're not actively listening if you're in a conversation. I hope somebody got that. So listen without judgment. Try not to assume that you know what this other person is dealing with, that you know what this other person is going to say, that you know what the end of the sentence is going to be, even if you know the person well enough, right? Still, just don't judge, don't assume, let them say their piece. You know, you can correct it later and ask for permission to do so. All of this is in communication. Cause I don't nobody like a know-it-all. I know a lot. I'm very well versed. I'm very experienced. I've done a lot in my lifetime. I've had a lot of success in communication, and I still, I still don't assume that I'm better than the next person at it. I still don't. I'm a public speaker. I'm a coach, right? I got the titles, but I still don't assume that I'm better at it. Like people that tell me all the time, like, man, you just could talk to anybody, right? That's because I know how to listen. I can listen to anybody. And usually, if you're willing to listen, the other person is willing to speak. So that's why we're going to be better listeners. Because if you show that you're going to be a better listener, then those who you've listened to usually want to return the favor and listen to you. You teach other people how to listen better by being a better listener yourself. And then what's happening? Listening is improving, communication is improving. All right. Next thing is don't, I kind of touched on it already. Don't plan on what you're about to say. So you hear this another phrase that's becoming trendy that people don't they're saying but don't really understand or go in depth is listen to understand instead of listening to respond. So when you go into a conversation, is this conversation a battle? Do you have that battle mentality? Do you just want to be right? You want to be the victor of this conversation. You want to walk away like I was the smartest one. I said the most profound stuff. I gave the best advice. I. Get rid of the I, right? And listen, listen. Get rid of the I. Listen. To listen to someone else means that you're not prioritizing what you want at that moment. Listening comes with empathy. Just want to understand you. And if I just want to understand you, all of the other stuff will fall in line. I'm not going to interrupt you because I want to hear what you got to say. I want to see what's interesting about you. I'm going to be paying attention to your body language, right? I'm going to be facing you. I'm going to be making eye contact with you because I'm focused on you at this moment while you're speaking. And I'm not going to be cutting you off. And I want to see what else you have to say before I interject or finish your sentence or plan on what I'm going to say next, right? All of that goes hand in hand, nonverbal. All of that goes hand in hand. So don't plan on what you're going to say next. When you do that, again, you're outside of the conversation. You're having a conversation with yourself and you're assuming what the other person is going to say. You're assuming that you know how this person thinks, and nobody is a mind reader. Nobody is a mind reader. We don't know what the next person is thinking. We'll tap into tomorrow's live because we're gonna talk about nonverbal communication, of course, but we don't know what anyone else is thinking. So you don't make that assumption. Don't assume that you know how this sentence is gonna end. It could end any which way. I know so many people have like I've made that assumption. I'm telling you all of this from experience. I've made that assumption of thinking I know how something is gonna someone is gonna cap off a sentence, and I go to finish the sentence and they're like, nah, that's not it. No, that's not even what I'm talking about. What I mean is, and I'm like, oh, let me listen since I was wrong. Now let me listen. And like the conversation can flow. The conversation can flow better if you're paying attention, right? So the next thing that you want to do is show that you're listening. Going back to nonverbal, hand in hand. Again, what are some things that people do that you acknowledge that makes you feel like you're being listened to? You're being heard in this very moment. What is happening? What is happening? That person more likely is facing you, right? They're making eye contact, they making like they're nodding their head. There's some type of facial expression, some type of reaction to what you're saying, right? If somebody is if I'm talking to y'all and I'm like this, right? My back is to you and I'm talking. At some point you can be like, is they talking to me? Is he talking to me? Like what is happening? Who he talking to? Right? But if I'm turned towards you, you know, you know I'm talking to you. Like show that you're listening. If you're talking to someone and they start walking away and or you're like they're on their phone and stuff, it's like you're not paying attention to me. You think about like how the kids feel. Kids say all the time that their parents don't pay attention to them. Like kids might have a wonderful day and got all types of stuff they want to say, and want somebody to hear, they come home to share it with the parent, and the parent like, "That's great, honey. That's great. Go on." Mm, you know, and kids notice this. Like this is ubiquitous, man. This is universal. So show that you're listening. Give some type of recognition. Oh, some type of reaction. Right? And don't focus too much on giving that reaction. I know people who are in the process of learning listening, and like I would challenge them. I'm like, okay, so can you repeat the last three words I said? Can you repeat the last sentence? What I just said? Or like I lost my train of thought. What I was talking about? I don't know. Because you won't listen it. You was just trying to show that you was listening. Don't get caught in that realm, right? And that's a part of the process. It's a part of learning. But people put on an act of listening. You acting like you're listening instead of actively listening. Don't be one of those. Those drain me. When I see somebody giving too much, like you're comical or is sarcastic, then I'll stop talking because you're not paying attention. You know, you're doing too much. Don't be one of those. This is about genuinely listening. If it's somebody that you don't want to listen to, or if it's something that you assume you'll get no benefit from, then don't listen to them. Cut the conversation off. Um, one of the things that I learned is you can put a time frame on it. Like if you know, like this person is going through a rough patch and you know that their conversation is not about to be about anything uplifting, and and at that moment they don't really want better advice. They just want to be able to get it off their chest. All right, I got like 3 minutes. I got like 3 minutes for you. Go ahead and get it off your chest. And then when that 3 minutes comes, then they can't be upset or feel as though you're not paying attention or listening because you gave them what you said that you could within the parameters, right? Next thing that you can do, again, don't assume your solutions are the best. I actually learned this from a TED talk I had watched, and I did a review on it. I have to shout out that link. I have to share that link. But I did a review on this TED talk, and it was awesome. It said, most of the time, especially as a coach, most of the time we assume our solutions are better. We assume our assumptions to the solutions will actually solve other people's problems. And 8 times out of 10 is not. What is awesome about communication, what is awesome about listening is, and my brother Paul Deber, he says this all the time, is all of the answers are within yourself. So what's awesome about you actively listening is a lot of times, I give it like 6.5 out of 10. Most of the time, when you actively listen to someone else, they come up with their own solution. All of the thinking, all of the self-talk is usually limited and is backed by emotion. If they could verbally get that out and somebody shows them by listening, by genuinely listening, somebody shows them that it's not as bad, then they're capable of now thinking more in depth. And oftentimes, the person who's speaking about a problem comes to their conclusion, comes to their own solution. So don't impose your opinion because what you think is right is right. Don't impose your opinion because what you think is right is right. And what you think is wrong is wrong. What's right for you may be wrong for someone else. A lot of times it is. How many times you hear somebody in a relationship going through a tafu, going through a small situation with their partner, and they just so happen to talk about it to their single friends? What the single friend usually say? Break up with her. You don't need her. Leave that man. You could do bad all by yourself. That's usually their advice. That's usually the advice. And it's like, well, I don't want to leave. I don't think we need to break up over this small issue. I think the issue could be resolved. I'm just upset right now. So, you know, don't impose your opinions or your solutions on the next person. And shout out to one of the guys that was in the comments. Um, he said something along the lines of that. Matter of fact, let me find that comment for y'all because I think that was awesome. But don't impose your solutions on people, right? There we go. It said communication is often done through advice. Giving advice assumes one thing: I know more than you. That's not good conditions for getting someone to listen. Unfortunately, I have done it many times, right? And my response is assumption is one of the main falters to communication. To be truly open to a different perspective before judging the one giving it. Also, to approach others without the assumption that your experience reigns supreme. I too have experienced this, my friend. I have found that to rid of the assumption, ask first if you may offer some advice. This usually gives the respondent the chance to decide if they are truly open to the new perspective that you're about to present. Hope this helps. Man, I love it. Man, I love it. But that's where it's at, man. Like, don't assume that your solution is the right solution. Uh, and even if it is, right? Even if you clearly could see it, right? We easily give advice and solutions because we're not the ones who got to deal with the repercussions of that solution. Anytime somebody tell you to break it up with your partner, then you thinking like, man, I'm gonna put all this time into it. I really love this person, man. It's gonna cost me. It's gonna be embarrassing. That's gonna be a hard conversation. I love this person. I don't want to. You thinking about all of that, but the other person, they ain't got no ties with your partner, so they just like, oh, well, break it off. You'll be better by yourself. Look like me, right? Be alone with me. Misery loves company. But I don't want you. Anyhow, don't impose your opinions and your solutions. If you truly believe that you have a solution to a problem that is being presented, if there's a problem being presented, then ask that person. I actually experienced something along the lines of this, and I did something, to solve that problem, and I don't deal with that problem no more. Is it okay if I share it with you? Yes or no? Right? They say, "Nah, I ain't really open to it." Cool. I'm not gonna share it with you. More than likely, they'll be like, "Yeah, you listen to me, I'll listen to you." More than likely that you listen to me, I'll listen to you. So don't impose. I'm like, this what you need to do. You should have been done. Nah, that's terrible at communication. Instead, don't impose. Just be like, yo, I actually might have some advice in that area. You cool if I share it with you? It could be that simple, man. Wording. Uh, let's see. A few more things. When you're listening, stay focused. Again, you can easily be distracted. I've done this many times with my wife, right? Picking up the phone. The phone could be your biggest distraction. If you're supposed to be spending quality time, if you're in depth in a conversation, if you're in a meeting, right? If you're in any type of conversation with somebody, picking up the phone means that you are exiting or already exited the conversation. You're not paying attention no more. You're not listening anymore, right? You're hearing now. Like, I got the phone. Um, yeah, I hear you talking. You just talking. I don't even take you seriously no more, right? And then, like, usually what happens is, like, you have the phone, you think you're listening, and then you'll catch on to, like, the last sentence or the last, like, something that was said, and you're like, "Hold on, what? Can you explain or can you say it again?" You know how, I know y'all know, you don't like repeating yourself. If you gotta repeat yourself multiple times, this person is not listening. This person is not skilled at listening. And it usually comes to, like, if it's a serious conversation, put your phone down, pay attention. Put the phone down and listen to me. And it's like, okay, you know. So the phone could be a big distraction. Other things could be distractions. If you're only hearing, then you're gonna go with wherever the sound is. So if you're not listening and you hearing this person, then say for instance a car honks its horn in the distance. You hear birds. Your attention goes wherever the sound is. Your attention goes wherever the sound is. That's hearing. You're not listening. To to listen, you have to stay focused. Stay right here. There's going to be things going on. There's going to be, how many times, and I can't stand this. If I'm talking to a guy and a pretty woman or a big booty walk past, and they done cut the conversation off, and then they come back and they can't even focus, man. What we was talking about? I'm like, damn, dog. Like, that's all it took to distract you. We was talking about building. Can't build with you if that's all it take to distract. That's what got your attention. That's what got your focal point. Don't get me wrong. I love women. I love big booties. Cool. But if we stay focused, that's not a distraction for me. I got mine at home. That's not a distraction for me. Tighten up, right? Tighten up. Stay focused, man. Stay focused. And if there's anything that y'all got, because I know we dropping a lot today. If there's anything that y'all got, go ahead, put it in the chat. Don't be afraid to comment. And as always, let me put it in there. You can join me live in this conversation. Join me live, hit the link, make sure that you got a clean background or whatnot. And we can talk about it. We can communicate. So the next thing that you want to do to be a better listener and show that you're listening after you're staying focused, you're paying attention, you're listening, not hearing, right? Instead of hearing. And next thing that you want to do is ask questions. And I know that this is it's a psychology thing. Again, I learned a lot of this stuff. I've applied a lot of this stuff. I know negotiation. I know conversation, how to guide a conversation, how to start a conversation, how to approach people. I learned body language. I learned a lot about communication, more than I actively knew. Like, this is just something that I was doing. I didn't even realize that I was learning it and experiencing it. This is just something that I saw that I wanted to be better at. So I just actively worked on it. Didn't set a goal or nothing like that. I just did it, right? Um, Psychology is called mirroring. You take the last three words or so that somebody said and you repeat them back to them. You mirror their sentence back to them. Somebody say, I was having a bad day and I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. The wrong side of the bed? And that usually gives the impression that you're listening. I don't want you all to use that. I want y'all to have good intentions. I want y'all to be great listeners. So I don't want you to use that with with nefarious intent. Okay, don't use that to try to persuade somebody into something. Like, don't be the trickster because you learning some mindset stuff. Okay, use this for better, improve yourself. But yeah, mirroring, asking questions. If you are actively listening to what somebody else is saying, then you should be able to ask a question about what they're saying, even if it's simple as I don't understand that. And then they'll be like, what don't you understand? In order for you to respond to that, that means you have to been listening, right? If somebody say, I don't understand the whole thing, what you meant, then I assume that you was not listening, right? It's got to be something in there that you needed more fine tuning on, or really don't understand. At some point within that dialogue that I given you, within me speaking, there was something that you could understand. So if you just say, I don't understand the whole thing, what you're really saying is, can you repeat it? I wasn't listening. You know what I'm saying? We paid attention to all this type of stuff, man. And yeah, so ask questions. That usually gets the conversation flowing. And another psychology thing, this is one of the things I learned about negotiation. The one who's asking the questions is the one who controls the conversation, not the one who's doing the most speaking. And so many people think it's the opposite. Like, oh, this person dominated that conversation. For one, let's take dominance out of it. If you're actively listening, you're not. If I'm having a conversation with you, I'm not trying to dominate you. I'm not trying to beat you with my intelligence and experience. No, I'm not trying to coach you into oblivion. No, none of that. If I'm listening to you, I'm simply understand. Right? I even well, that goes into the next thing. The questions that I ask is, do I have the capacity to listen right now? Again, you set the parameters, right? So you set the parameters, you set the tone for the conversation. So, like a lot of times, I listen to respond, and then I give that unwanted advice, right? My response was accurate towards what this person was saying, but it wasn't what they wanted. So I got before the dialogue starts, I asked the question like, "Do you just want me to listen?" It's especially for relationships, fellas and ladies. Do you just want me to listen right now, or do you want me to help you come to a solution? You let me know so I know what type of listening I'm doing. It's both gonna be active, but am I listening to respond, or am I listening to understand and provide a solution, or am I just listening to understand? Am I providing a solution by listening, right? Because sometimes you just need to get it off your chest. You just need to vent about the stresses of the day, or this is what's been on my mind. And you don't really need a response. You just need to be heard, which is cool. But I ask that, you know, especially in relationships, especially in relationships. Um, all of that little bickering and nitpicking, that's where that comes from. Well, you think you know everything. You think you know me so well, and da da da. And now because because of the assumption of the solution, because of the assumption of knowing the other person, that person now doesn't really want to talk to you. And when there's silence, it leads to separation. If there's willful silence, like if there's a certain type of silence leads to separation. If I feel like I can't even talk to you, what am I doing with you? Why would I live with someone I can't talk to? Why would I engage in someone that I can't talk to? Right? And that's because the listening has been affected. The communication has been affected. Usually when you show that you're a better listener, all of the rest of the communication improves. Mm. So ask questions. What you meant by a specific thing they said. If you was listening, then something got your attention, something you saw something. You saw that this was actually the issue. Ask a question about it, you know? Ask the questions, right? And like I said, mirroring, repeating to them. When you repeat what they said, it automatically shows that you was listening, right? And all of these things together makes you a better listener. And what I want you to take from this is that you're not going to be able to just, oh, I heard him say it. I'm doing it now. I'm a better listener because I just listened to this live. That's not how it's going to work. And again, this is why we're going to have to talk about this more than once, because listening is a practice. It's a daily practice. Like, we don't even listen to ourselves a lot. I know I don't. I can I know what's best for me. I know what I need to do. I know what I want to do. I know what I'm feeling. And a lot of times I don't listen. I don't listen. I knew I should have been cut that person off, but my optimistic self, I'm gonna keep on giving shots, keep on giving chances. Right? There you go. Don't use what your there he is. Don't use what you're teaching for evil. I never learned anything when my mouth was running. Also, shout out to TD, man. Shout out to TD. I love that. I love that. Don't use what you are teaching for evil. You know, don't use it for evil. And I never learned anything while my mouth was running. That is so true. Remember, I told y'all I was in them conferences, right? I was amongst millionaires and I could ask a question, but I'm taking notes, I'm listening. I want to learn. Mouth quiet, right? I want to learn. So remember, practice makes perfect, even though there's no such thing as perfect. But the more you do this, it's a muscle. That's more what I want to say. It's a muscle that you got to flex. It's an undeveloped muscle that you have to build. How you build it? By continuously, actively doing the thing, right? How you flex that muscle? You got to keep flexing. How you develop that muscle? You got to keep curling. You got to keep working on it, right? It may hurt at times. It may get tough. You might not want to do it some days, and all of that is good and well. But you have to actively, continuously make an effort. So it takes consistency. Communication takes consistency. Success at anything takes consistency. So you may have to listen a few times, especially in a relationship. You may have to listen a few times before you actually get from the conversation what you needed to, you know. You may have to listen a few times before you actually understand, if you're listening to understand. And that's cool. It takes consistency. You may have listened part of the conversation, but then it turned into like, I'm done with what you got to say. Here's what I got to say. You're not listening to me now, so I'm not listening to you. It becomes a battle. Let's not get there. And we can talk about how to get out of that as well. But yes, man, we will improve communication, improve the listening out here by improving ourselves to be better listeners. Thank you all for being here today. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about nonverbal communication. And I can't wait. I can't wait because I'm really going to be speaking to the fellas here. I can't wait. But nonverbal communication is, surprise, surprise, is not spoken about. Nonverbal communication is nonverbal. They say everything. What do they say? Was understood need not be explained. Well, a lot of people don't understand it. We should explain it. So tune in tomorrow, same time, 7 a.m. Eastern. We'll be going live about nonverbal communication, and just be better listeners out here, and the rest of the areas of communication will improve. This is the number one issue with communication, is listening, and we can solve that by being better listeners ourselves. Thank you all. It's your man Tresvon Pratt with AIM, always improving the mind. Much love.